Hello and welcome to this week's video in our series on the solutions to the exercises in our course Competition Policy and Strategy. This week we are going to discuss the solutions to assignment number 6 on the topic of market definition. In exercise 6.1 market definition, we are going to talk about the necessary vocabulary and the necessary constructs that we need to understand in order to understand market definition and to understand this whole topic. In this first exercise, we are asked to explain why it is necessary to define relevant market in competition policy. We are after that going to talk about what is meant by the competitive forces, demand substitutability, supply substitutability, and then last but not least, potential competition. Let's first talk about market definition. What is market definition and why do we even need to talk about market definitions? Well, in short, market definition is the necessary intermediate step in the evaluation of a case from a competition point of view. So in order to discuss whether or not market power of a single firm or of a conglomerate of firms is too large for our liking, we of course need to first define what is the relevant market at hand that we are even talking about. And that's exactly what we mean by market definition. So this can be addressed by, for example, talking about market shares and concentration measures. One of these concentration measures we of course already talked about, I believe in exercise or assignment number 4, the HHI, the Hermann Hirfendahl Index, HHI for short. And these market shares and concentration measures are a first indication for determining the market power of the firms that are active in the market. Now, the main purpose is, of course, the identification of the relevant competitive forces. So we want to identify the supply side of the market as well as the demand side of the market and understand these two sides better. All right. Now let's talk about the first construct, the first concept we are asked to discuss within this exercise, namely the competitive force demand substitutability. And on the exercise sheet, we already gave you sort of a hint or a source rather, where you can read up on these topics and where these terms, demand substitutability, supply substitutability, as well as potential competition, were defined and discussed. And that is the Commission notice, again, for a URL to the PDF file of this and or to a proper description of what this document is that we will keep referring to throughout this whole exercise, this Commission notice. I would like to refer you to the exercise sheet, in which again we even provide a link so you can find it immediately. This is of course the same Commission notice that we are talking about in the lecture slides as well. All right, so let's first talk about demand substitutability as defined and as discussed in this Commission notice. And to be more precise, the relevant information we are going to talk about in the next minute or two can be found in the numbers 13 and 14 in this document. All right, so we would like to answer this exercise, this question, based on two quotes that we drew immediately out of this Commission's notice. The first one being, demand substitutability constitutes the most immediate and effective disciplinary force on the suppliers of a given product. All right, so the important part, it's the most immediate and most effective disciplinary force on the suppliers. All right, so that's why it's important to think about this concept. Then the second quote reads, a firm or a group of firms cannot have significant impact on the prevailing conditions of sale, such as prices, if its customers are in a position to switch easily to available substitute products or to suppliers located elsewhere. All right, so what this means is, in case there is demand substitutability to a larger degree, to a larger extent in the market we are looking at. Well, if this is the case, then this prevents producers or firms from having a significant impact on the prevailing conditions, which of course means in the most immediate and simplistic way, the price they are asking for. All right. So this should give us an understanding first of why it is important that we need to talk about demand substitutability, and then second, how we can understand demand substitutability and how demand substitutability defines the conditions in the market. All right. Then the next question, of course, is, well, how to measure demand substitutability? What is this? How can we quantify or at least qualify demand substitutability in a given market? And one way to do so, or to approach this, is we can take a look at the learner index. And while you know the learner index in the more conventionally used version, so when considering a monopolistic market, of course we know that the classic learner index in this sense simply equals 1 over demand price elasticity. So this is an eta. If we are talking about the learner index in oligopolistic markets, however, we can show that the learner index is in fact defined as it is written on this slide down here. So the learner index Lj, for J referring to the individual firm, then results as the market share M of the specific firm, so Mj divided by eta, so the elasticity in the market, the demand elasticity in the market. All right, so if we now want to qualify or even quantify the learner index in the oligopoly, well, of course, what we need to find is both parts of this fraction. So we need to identify the market shares in the market, and of course we also need to find the price elasticity of the demand eta, or at least we need to get a grip on the determinants of the price elasticity, so we can at least sort of qualify the dimension, we can at least have some idea in what kind of interval the demand elasticity should fall into. All right? Let's get rid of all of this, and let's then continue with the second part of the question, supply substitutability. And again, we would like to answer this question based on quotes that we found, that you can find in the Commission's notice. In this part, more precisely, you can find all relevant information that we will discuss in the following in the numbers 20 to 23 in this Commission's notice. All right, and again, I would like to provide a quote from this Commission's notice that really gives an answer to our question, and that is, suppliers are able to switch production to the relevant products and market them in the short term without incurring significant additional costs. This part is really to be highlighted, or risk, in response to small and permanent changes in relative prices. So what this means is, of course, supply substitutability captures to what extent firms are able to strategically react towards small but permanent changes in prices, in the sense to what extent can they simply switch products, switch market, or draw similar measures in order to avoid loss in profits due to changes in prices or similar, or reductions in prices and similar. All right, so one example would be the production of paper in different qualities. So if there is a firm that produces a certain quality of paper, maybe a certain thickness or weight per square meter of paper, and now for some reason they see a price drop in this market, then supply substitutability would answer the question on how difficult it would be for this firm to switch products, maybe produce a related product that is not affected by the price changes in the market they were active until now. All right, so in how far the firm just, basically needs to swallow the bitter pill of accepting now worsening market conditions, and at the same time in how far the firm can react to this by, for example, changing the market they are active on. Okay. Now the third and final concept we need to talk about in this exercise is potential competition. And again, all the information that you need in order to answer this question can be found in the Commission notice, this time in particular in number 24. And furthermore, potential competition is a topic which we already covered in this course. More precisely, we covered it in the previous week in assignment number 5, when we were talking about potential competition. All right, and barriers to entry and so on, everything that is related to that, of course. So, first bullet point really captures what I just said. We can, in order to understand this, we can simply refer back to what we already know, namely the theory of contestable markets. So again, I would like to refer you to last week's assignment where we were discussing a model of a contestable market, and we're analyzing how the contestability of the market can affect the market outcome. All right, so then furthermore, what the Commission notice tells us in this regard of potential competition, is that potential competition is not taken into consideration when we are defining the market itself. And furthermore, that this analysis, so the analysis of potential competition, is only carried out at a subsequent stage in general, once the position of the companies involved in the relevant market has already been ascertained. So what this means in short is we don't bother with this whole topic until we already understood the relevant market and, of course, the positions of the companies involved. So, for example, once we understood supply substitutability in the market.